The month of May is finally here, which means we are just weeks away from the runoff election. Marine veteran Trevor was released from prison in Russia, and Governor Greg Abbott continues to make border issues national headlines. This is the politics of Texas. I'm Stephen Dial. Here's your Fast Four. Texas Marine veteran Trevor was released from prison in Russia this week and returned to his family's home in North Texas. Was arrested for allegedly assaulting Russian police in 2019. The release was the result of a prisoner exchange with Russia. After recent protests, Reed's family met with President Biden last month. Reed's father said the president's actions may have saved Trevor's life. Governor Greg Abbott's plan to bus migrants to Washington, D.C. has been going on for a few weeks. At least 10 buses have taken migrants who illegally crossed the border to President Biden's backyard. Now Abbott has a link on his website asking for public donations to continue to bus migrants to D.C. Those taking the bus rides volunteered to be moved from Texas. The Fifth Circuit U.S. Court of Appeals formally ended the legal challenges to SB 8 in Texas. The law, also referred to as the Heartbeat Bill, bans most abortions in the state. The court dismissed all challenges to the law's private enforcement provision. As written, the law gives private citizens the power to sue abortion providers who they suspect are violating the law. This instead of the state suing providers. Pro-choice advocates say this law is blatantly unconstitutional. The May 24th runoff election in Texas is right around the corner. Early voting starts May 16th. During the primary election, there were issues with mail-in ballots following the start of a new state law when it comes to voting. Election officials say if you are voting by mail, make sure to put both your Social Security number and Texas driver's license number on your mail-in application. Issues along the Texas-Mexico border have become state and national headlines almost weekly. Governor Abbott is running for re-election, and some of these issues have become very political, but there is indeed a real issue at the border. For our Sunday conversation, joining us is Rudy Koski, reporter at Fox 7 in Austin, and Patrick Svitek, political correspondent for the Texas Tribune. So, Patrick, there's been a lot of talk about the border. Governor Abbott makes a point to talk about it every day. What issue this week do you think stands out among the rest?
I think it was notable this week that at the federal level, the Biden administration released a memo outlining a plan to deal with the anticipated flood of migrants at the border after the end of the Title 42 policy. They have been getting pressure, including from some in their own party, to offer a plan before the end of this policy in late May. And so clearly, I think responding to that pressure, and you even had some Democrats in South Texas, like Congressman Henry Cuellar in Laredo, call on the Biden administration not to end Title 42. I think I saw a quote from him this week. He seemed to initially like the plan that they released. And so if someone like him is saying that they like this plan, that's probably some notable movement in trying to get more people, at least inside their party, on board with the end of this policy in late May.
Is there something that President Biden really needs to do to make a noticeable impact on the border to basically please some Republicans who are willing to listen to him, and then, of course, please some Democrats who are also critical of him when it comes to the border?
Well, I think the Biden administration gets the Nero Fiddler Award. It seems like that they are completely denying what's happening down on the southern border. And while we're talking a lot about Title 42, eventually it's going to go away. So there has to be a plan in place to replace what you're doing with Title 42. Otherwise, you're just got an open border situation right back to the surges that we're having. But I believe that what has overshadowed all this, and rightfully so, is the death of Specialist, who is now Sergeant Bishop Evans. And that puts a real, tangible face on this fight. It's no longer a political fight. We're now hearing more and more about the sacrifices that the National Guard's member, the State Guard members, the troopers are doing, and also the migrants who are coming over. We heard during a hearing recently, more than 20 individuals, migrants, who have drowned in the Rio Grande, and then now Bishop Evans drowning. And we're hearing about equipment shortages, shortfalls. Not everyone has flotation devices there on the border. How does that happen? We're hearing that there is no death benefit for National Guard members and State Guard members who are down there, because this is a state deployment, not a federal deployment. So bureaucrats getting involved into a very human type situation. And that, for me, has set all the political rhetoric about Title 42 into a back burner and back into the human cost of what's happening down there.
This week, Governor Abbott added a link on his official governor website that calls for the public to make donations to continue what he calls his plan to bus migrants who volunteer to be taken to DC. Patrick, does this mean that this plan from Governor Abbott could run out because he may have to shift state money? Or do you think the governor is just saying, hey, if you want to help, donate some money?
At any time you have taxpayer dollars wrapped up in something this politically fraught, there may be some real sensitivity around it, and you may want to be avoiding the appearance or the actuality of taxpayer dollars going towards something as politically fraught as this. Obviously, this bus situation has been denounced, including by some members of Abbott's own party, as a political stunt. And so while I doubt Abbott's office would agree with that characterization, I'm sure they're very sensitive to the idea that taxpayer dollars may be wrapped up in this.
Stephen, Austin and their commuter train were moving more people than these buses that Abbott's pushing up to DC. I think that, the most 30 individuals, as few as just 10. And when you have the White House press secretary mocking the program, making light of it, joking about it, that's not good. And so at some point in time, you got to realize, all right, this was a nice little jab, but it's not really getting to the big flush of people that we want to send to DC to make them feel the same pain that the San Antonio's feeling, McAllen's feeling, those individual cities are feeling. It's not working with the big push of people.
How much of just in general the border issue, from Governor Abbott basically having press conferences every week, going down to the border, announcing new plans and policies? Let's not even talk about the bridge issue with the extra inspections that happened weeks ago. How much of this is politics and how much of this is Governor Abbott actually putting in plans that can fix the problem at the border? Patrick.
There's no doubt that there's a problem on the border. There's no doubt that Congress hasn't stepped up to reform immigration laws in a way that gives us more uniformity and modernization at the border. And so there's certainly a problem here that the state is trying to address, at least partially in good faith. But obviously, Abbott launched this during a very noisy Republican primary of his own. There continues to be questions about whether he's interested in running for president in 2024. And so it's very hard to look at this as apolitical.
Patrick Rudy, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
For all the latest political news, head over to our website, fox4news.com. We will see you next time for another edition of The Politics of Texas.